Okay. So we can drop that there. Oh, there was a patch on the Lemken Dolomit set, or whatever it's called. They should check that out, because I think they gave us a power harrow as well. Okay, hang on. Yeah, we're seeding next. Is this the 3 meter one again? Yeah. Okay. So yes, there's now that one, which is only a 3 meter working width, and that one, which is 4 meters, 200 horsepower. Yeah, I'm not going to buy that. So cultivators, that's 100 horsepower, 3 meter. 120 horsepower, 3 meter, 3.7 at 130, 220. Yeah, we've already blown our tractor's capabilities. And down at the end, that's 100 horsepower, 300, 150 for 5.5. Still too big, way too big. No, that was 180, still too big, and that's 133 meters, so 110 for 4. Kind of looking at all of these, and our tractor's kind of limited, although that one, is that a front mount one? Don't know. It's the possibility that one might mount on the front, so you could put that with the 3 meter seeder. Seeders there. This one, although that pushes us up to 165 horsepower, tractor can't do that. Anyway, we have stuff in the tank. So, what have we got planted? We have wheat, canola, and soybeans. I just use a subsoiler because all of the fields had a needs to be ploughed state. You'll see some of the fields out there also need to be ploughed. So having the subsoiler is a good thing. But next time, I don't have to run a subsoiler over it. I don't need to plough the stuff. So if it was possible for me to run a wider cultivator, 6 meter cultivator on a 130 horsepower tractor, then I could get these fields cultivated in half the time. Unfortunately, it looks like 130 horsepower, I'm still limited to about 3 or 4 meter working width. So I could add a meter, which isn't going to make a significant difference, I think, with the rate that I can cultivate the ground. However, if I could put a cultivator on the front of the tractor and the seeder on the back, then I can do both jobs in one pass. But again, tractors are a limiting factor, and although those 2 pieces of equipment only need 80 horsepower each, that blows through the tractor's output, so it's going to struggle to overcome it. I think Might do barley on the front, and then soybeans and canola. That should work. Okay, so barley on the front, we're loaded for barley. And the power harrows have serious power requirements, so it's not going to work well for us on any of the fields we have. Well, the other option is to do get a seeder that you don't have to cultivate with. But then the issue there is probably the only one we can do is the 3 meter wide Vaderstat, and that A costs a lot and B is going to be awkward to fling around the fields with the size and the sort of the restrictions in clearance that we have on some fields around here. So in general it's just easier to use this seeder or something similar which has the 3-point connection on the back. And the other thing I'm thinking, specifically I'm thinking about the field up behind the houses that are now directly behind us. Because the back of the houses butt right onto the field. We're pretty much going to be working with this Massey Ferguson for a long time to come, I think. Although I do eventually want to get something in the region of about a 200 horsepower tractor so that we can maybe consider doing corn forage and poplars maybe. Although again on this farm I'm not really set up for baling stuff. I may decide to do poplars on the upcoming Osa family farm. Because that I'm planning on being a little bit bigger and actually doing some baling work on it, and possibly being a cow farm. Yeah, and I'm not going with the Kun planting set because I did use that on Old Stream Farm in 17, and once again it was a very restrictive with the size of the fields on the map. I just could not easily do some of the fields. Oops. So I mean, you'll notice at the moment I'm running without the front weight. Not that that's a big big problem for the fields I'm planning to do here. it's not like the fields are too big to be unduly concerned with the equipment operating with. Just enough clearance. And that's potentially a problem if I considered getting the 4-meter wide version of this seeder. Is it then sticks half a metre further out on each side of the tractor. And that can be a problem for these roads. So the big issue is these fields here. So much that one. But this one on the right butts right up to the back of those houses. So if you've got a seed tender for the Kuhn pack on the front and you're heading this way, that's as far as you go, and you've got good few meters, possibly up to 3-4 meters there before of unplanted ground, so you have to then turn around and go backwards. So expanding the farm has to make those considerations on the equipment that we have. It may be that we go a bit bigger eventually when we get the money to afford a bigger tractor. But then we're still going to be using this tractor on all of the smaller fields. So we're not going to be selling any of the small equipment just because we're able to use bigger equipment. But the opposite is true of Mercury Farm. We've started off with a lot of small fields on Mercury Farm, but as time goes by we're going to be knocking down the hedges and expanding those fields, and so we're going to want to start working with larger equipment. And we'll have that freedom because of how that map is constructed. Some of our turns not the greatest. And this is all limitations of the tractor's turn radius as opposed to the equipment we're trailing. Maybe with a 4-meter planter we wouldn't have any gaps to fill now. But that's just the way it is. Nobody coming. I do not have growth turned off, but I have this map. I started with it on slow. Where is it? Yeah, plant growth is slow. And there's very little risk, given the size of these fields, of growth, the sort of uneven growth being an issue. Oh, why not raise that? I mean, I usually set my plant growth and leave it alone. On Mercury, I did end up turning it down to slow. After the big problems we had with our previous harvesting attempts, and rain and all the rest of the problems we had. Hey Whitehawk, how you doing? What I am more concerned with is not getting the fertilizer down before it starts growing, because that then means I have to change the wheels on the tractor for the second stage, and as we know, this tractor doesn't retain its engine size when you put it in for customization. So you have to remember to reset the engine when you change the wheels, or you end up with a 100 horsepower tractor. You pay for a 100 horsepower engine, and you find later on that you can't haul some of your equipment anymore because the engine's too small. So I'm trying to avoid as much as possible editing the tractor setup. Okay, that's done. We've got to go around the back because the rest of the fields are up there. So I believe... oh, turn it off. Thank you. Oats, canola. I believe I was going to do canola here. Yeah. So... oh. And thanks for the more cheers. Okay, Yeah, I tend not to post until tomorrow evening, so typically around 8 o'clock. What I do so that the videos come out in sequence is I'll post them 15, to go live 15 seconds apart or 15 minutes apart. So the first video releases at 8, then 8:15, 8:30, etc. Since the videos are half hour long, it's not a big deal if you have to wait for the next one to come up. Watch them in sequence, damn it. So once this one's done, or this one and the other one's done, we'll grab the fertilizer and fertilize these 3 fields. And then I have to find something else to do. Fertilization doesn't take too long, so that's not a big deal. I'm also not likely to get much in the way of partial growth during planting at this point, because we did have a growth step in the time it took me to climb into the tractor and drive out this field and start ploughing. Everything grew 1 stage, so it's probably going to be a good 6 hours before the next growth. It's not going to take me 6 hours to plant any of these fields. Go away, birds, leave my seeds alone. Go eat someone else's. That's that one done. With what we've got at the moment, it's going to take us a while to build up funds. I do want to buy the grass field just across the bridge on the main road, right down the bottom there. With some grass we can consider buying some sheep, but at the moment we're kind of stuck with the grass and the hay in the farm silo, and once that's gone we'd have to buy grass or hay bales, and I kind of want to avoid doing that. So best outcome there is to have a field that's supplying us grass. And to do that we're going to need mowing equipment. Once again, I don't have money for that yet. Oh, thanks for the cheer, Whitehawk. So mowing equipment, we'll probably get the Kuhn rear sort of side mounted or side cutting mower. And we'll also need a windrower of some description. Might get the small one. Because I believe that mounts 3-point rather than trailed, and they'll be cheap. Oh, cool. And of course we've already got the loading wagon for the straw, so I've got a method to bring in hay or grass. I just don't have a method to make it quite yet. Might check on prices and requirements when this field's done. There is the possibility these rows appear to be a little bit too wide, so we're going to have little narrow threads running up each of them as we get close to finishing it off. Shadows are getting a bit long. Yeah. Seems the shadows are always long on this map. done. Next one looks a bit wide. Possibly the two at the end might be the width of the cedar as well. So we'll get three gaps to fill when we're coming back. Also, it looks like we'll end up on the back road when we finish, which is good. We'll be back on this farm tomorrow again, and I'm predicting we'll be looking for some opportunities to make money. Look at doing some contracts. If I can do them with my own equipment, I probably will. But, if not, then we'll be renting some stuff and seeing what mischief we can make. Last field's the bigger of the three, possibly the biggest one we own. We've still got half a tank of seed left in the back. Should be good to finish the planting without needing to refill. That's that one done.